Welcome back to the Legal Paige Podcast. I am changing it up a bit today and am bringing you a non-legal heavy episode, but instead kind of giving you a more behind the scenes glimpse into my life and the realities of running a business, especially as a mom of young kids. So today's episode is a raw, honest conversation about what it's like managing a seven-figure business while raising young kids and trying to be a good spouse. And I'm having this conversation with the incredible Macy Pruett. She is also a wife, a mom of two little boys, and a founder of the Fittest Core app, which is an app designed for women in all stages of motherhood. Macy and I chat on this episode about what it's really like balancing business and motherhood, practical tips from her and from myself on staying healthy as busy moms, and then also just the unique dynamics of working alongside your spouse, because Macy actually recently brought her husband into her business. Not something that I have done because my hubby and I have learned that working together is not our forte. But Macy has some pretty dang good reasons on why it has been really simpatico for them. And I just love hearing that perspective from a mom and a business owner. So all in all, this episode is packed with a lot of heart, honesty, and inspiration for moms and business owners alike. So let's get into it. Hey there, I'm Paige Griffith, your host and an attorney for small business owners. I help online businesses and creatives get legally legit in no time. This podcast is all about the legal and the page behind it. I'll break down and simplify legal talk while providing practical business guidance every step of the way. And after over a decade in the entrepreneur space and becoming a mother, I'll also be sprinkling in tips for running a business and giving you a glimpse behind the scenes of what life's really like. As a gentle reminder and disclaimer, I am an attorney, but I am not your attorney. So be sure to seek legal counsel for personalized advice. Welcome to the Legal Paige Podcast. Macy, hello. Welcome to the Legal Paige Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, me too. It was so fun. As I was preparing for this interview, I was just going into a deep dive into everything you do and everything you help with new moms, with just feeling like your whole self and your fittest self, and kind of coming back into who you are as someone who has had two postpartum journeys in the past 3 years. And I'm fresh off my second one. My baby's only 10 months old. It's really nice to have people in that same space. And a lot of our listeners here are moms to young kids, or at least, kids that need them and are you're a little bit more involved as a mom during those pivotal years of their life. Yes. And certainly in elementary school as well. And middle school and high school too. Let's just throw it all in there, right?
Of course.
Probably
yes.
until they're 30. My mom is still heavily involved in my life.
Exactly.
Can you
say the same thing?
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and kind of your journey as a business owner to get to where you are today?
Sure. So I am Macy. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, kind of on the outskirts of Nashville. We live on the lake out here. I'm looking at it right now, actually. I have two boys. They're just a little bit older than your kids. Eli is almost 4, and then Wyatt is a year and a half.
Oh, yeah.
And I run my business, Fittest Core, with my husband, Chase. I've been a personal trainer for over a decade, and most of that, well, really all of it was in person until I had Eli, my first son. That was right around the time of COVID, and so the combination of COVID and then having Eli led me to an online training journey. So really, shout out to COVID, because that's kind of what made my business take off, honestly. It's really the only good thing about COVID, I guess. So
There's always a silver lining to bad situations, is what
Absolutely.
I say. Learning lessons. Life is happening for us, not to us.
Exactly. And this was a big silver lining. So I took it to, I started a Facebook group for online workouts, follow along workouts, because I knew that people still wanted to work out during COVID when the gyms were closed and everybody was stuck at home. And so that started, and then it really kind of quickly snowballed into working with a big platform and starting my app and all of that. And so that's how I got into online training and building my app. And we've been fortunate enough to grow it so much that my husband was able to leave his job and join the business almost 2 years ago. So now we run it from home, and we have about 1,000 women on our subscription platform. And then we also work with, I think we have about 30 one-on-one clients right now, between me and 2 other trainers that we have. We have a nutritionist and a pelvic floor health coach. So we've got kind of the whole motherhood package. And really the mission of Fittest Core is to help women be and feel their fittest from the inside out, in all stages of womanhood, whether you're trying to conceive, whether you are pregnant, early postpartum, or you are 10 years postpartum. We work with all ages, or all stages of motherhood. So it's really great. We get to work with a lot of amazing women and moms, and get to help empower them, and which is, honestly empowering right back. It's a very giving job for sure.
Yeah, the reason that this is just so near and dear to my heart too is I just feel like, especially when you are a business owner as a mom in particular, a lot of times your personal cup isn't filled up as much as it should be for you to go home and or walk out the door of your office or leave your kitchen table if you're working from your kitchen table and running your business from there, to leave the work mode at work and then go into mom mode in the best capacity that you can. And I think a lot of that is because we're not allowing ourselves to feel like we want, and to be present in the way that we want to be present with our kids and our spouses. So before I kind of get into that, because that's just a journey that I've really been on in the past few years that I think people have been, I guess, somewhat interested in. I'm interested in a lot of this business stuff with you, because I feel like you and I are in very similar paths in terms of COVID hit, and our businesses exploded a little bit. And we went massively online, and what it has been like over the past 4 years to keep up that stamina and momentum. And then you brought your spouse into it, which I'm going to get to in a second too. Lots of foreshadowing here, people. I just want to know, if you're looking back at the past 4 to 6 years, I know you were doing a lot of personal training, so you're still running your business, prior to 2020. What is kind of the biggest challenge that you've been faced with growing your business in the past 4 years while being a mom?
Oh gosh. I feel like this is kind of a cliche phrase, but work-life balance, it's really hard. It's you kind of just touched on that a little bit. It's when you are a business owner, especially if you love what you do, which I do, it's very hard to turn it off. And so finding that balance of, okay, it's time to mom or it's time to work is very hard. And for a very long time, and I still have to work on this. I've kind of felt like I try to do both at once, because, the kids up until recently, both boys were at home with us. They just recently started school, which has been a very big help, and being, having mom hat on and then business hat on. But until, just a few weeks ago, they were home. And so it was really hard to differentiate between mom hat and business hat. And I would try to do both at the same time a lot, which doesn't really work, because then you're kind of just giving 50% at both, which leads to, for me at least, some frustration or feeling like I'm not doing good enough. And then, classic tale of mom guilt comes into the picture, because you feel like you're not doing a good enough job there. And so that's been the hardest part, is kind of figuring out, just work-life balance. Everybody's familiar with that phrase. So differentiating between okay, from this time until this time, work needs to be turned off, and I am a mom and I'm a wife, and this is what I'm working on.
Oh, I love that. Okay, let's dig into it a little bit more because I have a problem with this, and I'm sure you do too, and I'm sure everyone does. They're gonna nod their heads when I'm saying this. There's so much out there that's like you have to clock out. You have to be like fully present with your kids. And in my world, it's not a reality in
Hmm.
terms of it's always in the back of my mind because it's how I'm providing for my family. It is something that is a part of my identity and who I am. I am a mom, but I am also a business owner. And so while there are times, certainly, when I am fully so focused on my kids, my phone is away, I'm just doing that. There are other times when it's like an integration thing and not a balance
Hmm.
thing for me. And my kids are going to see mommy working. And that's just a
Totally.
reality that I live in. And that's the life I've chosen. And to
Hmm.
give yourself a lot of grace and space that that's okay. It's okay for my kids to see that. It's okay for them to see me working hard. It's just it's the little things on how much they see it. Do they also
Hmm.
see you being very present and getting on the floor with them and
Yeah.
being at their level instead of always being on your phone over on the side, on the couch? Like being aware of those types of things, but realizing that it's not going to be perfect. That's something
Totally.
I've really had to let go of the past 3 years since I had my first child is I thought I could balance it all. I thought I could, and I want to get into this with you. Like, what does your typical day look like?
Hmm.
Could I do it just with my spouse and like some grandparent help? Did I need to delegate other things as a business
Right.
owner? And Macy, to be honest, like as the business has grown, I've had to be okay with even delegating more and getting
Yeah.
more help in our household and being like, I can't do everything. If I need to
Yes.
be a good business owner and provide for all my employees and contractors and be a good mom, I can't do it all. I can't wear all the
Yep.
hats that I used to when I was like starting up as a business owner.
Yep.
So in that, if you
That's a
have
tough
any,
pill for me to swallow. And I hate to admit that, but
mm,
I want to be able to do everything because that's just how my brain works and that's how I am. I'm sure it's how you are too. So it's
yeah,
accepting that delegating is not only beneficial for me, but everybody in the house is sometimes a hard thing, a hard pill to swallow, but it does make a difference for everybody in a good way.
yeah. Okay, before I move forward, I just want to let you know that there's a big sound when you're touching right here.
Oh, okay, thank
So
you.
just keep your hands up. It's the
Okay,
audio is totally
just
good,
touching
but
my desk.
yeah,
Okay,
there's like
okay,
this
okay.
massive clicking. Something's happening.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay, good to know.
it's totally fine. She'll cut that out, but just keep your
Okay,
hands up
great.
here when you're talking.
Okay,
So
great.
that
We'll do.
there's no back end stuff. I've never had to tell anyone that, but it'll just make the interview better.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
cool.
I mean, I totally struggle with that too. Every day, all day. I think as entrepreneurs, you innately have that control factor at issue all the
Hmm.
time, every day, all day. We're trying to be really good moms. We're trying to be really good business owners. And with that comes a lot of control in all aspects of our lives and relinquishing some of that control. It's been extremely difficult to me, but I am a delegation queen and I've become better and better at it as I've become a mom
Yeah.
because the reality is I do want to set up my days and my weekends and my business ebbs and flows as well
Hmm.
to align with why I became an entrepreneur to begin with and then why I became a mom to begin with is I want to
Totally.
be a mom. And
Totally.
so how I'm running my business, it needs to align with what I want to do in my life.
Hmm.
So can you kind of let people know like what a typical day looks like for you and your spouse as a business owner and then kind of where your kids are at and like how you've gotten
Sure.
help in that respect and like where you are present and just what you've learned over the past four
Yeah.
years.
Sure. And then I was gonna say one thing that you said because I know this will resonate with a lot of moms is you said that you do intentionally integrate work while you're momming at the same time. I love that because I do want I want my kids to know that I do work because I'm working for them. And so I think when we
Mhm.
switch to that mindset of we're not working to take time away from our kids, we're working so that we can provide for our kids and do more with our kids. So you said that and I was like, that's something that I think is so important for moms to know is that it's good for their kids to see them working.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, so anyways, to answer your question, a typical day. So up until literally 2 weeks ago, the boys were at home, so it's changed now. But current
It's always gonna
schedule,
change too.
Right. It's going to continue to change. That's just how it goes. So now we wake up, they have to be at school by 7:40, which is pretty early when you're trying to get 2 kids out the door and, all your
Oh my
ducks in a
God,
row.
I feel you.
Yeah. But, it's great because then we end up having the whole morning, and it's, instead of it starting at 9, it can start at 8, which that extra hour makes a difference. But we wake up, we get out the door, which is always, an Olympic sport to get out the door with everything and on time. And then we come back, and typically my day starts with checking in. Part of my app, we have a community on it, which is essentially like another social media platform, but it's exclusive to my members. And so I try to start all my mornings checking in on them and answering questions, checking in and all that. It's one of my happy places. I love to check in and be present with my women there. So I start there and then kind of get caught up on emails. And then typically at that point, usually like over breakfast, my husband and I, since, we do run the business together, we check in with each other. What are there things that I need to be working on today? What are things that he needs to be doing today? What can we be doing together? And obviously, depending on what that list is day in and day out, it's, that conversation will take a few minutes or it'll take a few hours, depending on what it is. But I also make sure to include time for a workout each day, because that is not only, what makes me sane and keeps me happy, but it is part of what I preach. And so I make sure to practice what I preach to get it in, and encourage all my moms to do the same on the days that it works for them. And then the rest of the day, it's keeping up with other business things, whether it's following up with clients. I have client check-ins for my one-on-one clients. It's programming for new workouts and checking in. I have some trainers that work under me, so checking in on them and their clients, and just making sure everybody's happy and feeling supported, because that's a massive part in what I do. And, they're feeling like their trainers are keeping up with them, and that we're checking in and providing for them what their goals are. And we try to be done with our work day around 2:30 or 3 to go and get the boys, because I do, with them being gone, before 8, I like to make sure that our afternoons and evenings are all spent as a family, whether we just come back to the house and play or go to a park or, whatever that looks like. I try to be phone free / work free from the time I pick them up until we put them down at night. But that's really only been the case since they've been at school. When they were at home and, I was working and watching them, it was a lot of, like you said, it was a lot of doing both at the same time.
Yeah, totally. When you have them when did you guys make that decision? Because my husband and I kind of had this massive discussion too of do we keep the kids home? We have the ability for one of us to attempt to try to keep the kids home and one of us to work, and we could just do it all in one, and we can also try to be parents and not have daycare or preschool at play here. But for us, we definitely felt like we could be better parents if I could have devoted time to my business, and it would help me allow for more boundaries for myself, where I'm not voxering people while I'm at the park with my kids.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, that still happens in Mayday situations. I'm the business owner. People are going to have to communicate with me. But I can set up boundaries a bit more when I have a little bit more childcare and help. Can you just let people know, if they're in that stage right now, what was the kicker for you guys?
Well, you used the word delegate. You said that you were the queen of delegation. This is a form of delegation, Yeah. It really is. It's a hard one to give up. It's a ton of things, and especially as a business owner, it's hard to delegate jobs, because your business is another baby of yours, and so it's hard to give it away to somebody and give them a job when you're but I know that I'll do it this way, and this is how I want it done. It's the same-ish as childcare and with your kids, and Is it easy to send them to school? No, it's sad. My 18-month-old still cries every time we drop him off, and I try to walk quickly enough to the car so I can cry myself. Like, it's not easy, but I am able to have dedicated work time and then dedicated mom time. And because I have that dedicated work time where my cup is filled and I'm feeling purposeful outside of being a mom, not that being a mom is not purpose, because we all know that is the greatest purpose of all, but a lot of us want a purpose outside of being quote unquote just mom, right? Which is, again, there's no just to that. It's a massive role, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Preach. Like, I feel this way too. And I'm sure everyone does as well. It's sometimes like bad things out there in the world that can kind of get you down as a mom and a business owner. And it's interesting that you're like trying to defend yourself on why you're saying this, because we're all feeling this as moms. Like, why do we feel like we need to defend ourselves?
Right.
That we are a business owner and we are a mom and we can be both. But I love that even you and I are like, I want people to know this is a common thread, a common thing that we're thinking as business owners and moms, and it's okay to have those thoughts.
Totally. It is. And it's so normal. And I think that I can speak for any mom when I say that, you know, when our cup is full, then we can, the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup. It's just so true. And for me, my cup is full when I feel like I have, not even served a purpose, but, made an impact and honestly crossed a lot of things off of my to-do list. Like that for me, that's where I fill my cup, when I feel like I have had a day where I've gotten a ton of stuff done and felt so productive. Productivity for me is what fuels me and makes me feel like I'm doing what I need to be doing. And so on a day where I've gotten like one thing on my to-do list done, I'm not in a good mood, and I'm not a very good mom and not a very good wife. And I know that about myself. And so being able to send my boys to school and know that I have, 7-ish hours to just work on my to-do list, which, all moms know this. It's not just one to-do list. There's household to-do list. There's mom to-do list. There's work to-do list. There's so many to-do lists. And so having this dedicated time without the distraction of kids to get it done allows me to be not only more successful with my business, but an even better mom. So it really is, it's a win-win. And yes, it's hard to send your kids to school, but it really does allow you, before they were at school, by the end of the day, I'm like scrambling because I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I need to wrap up for work at this time? But then also, it's the end of the day, it's 5 o'clock, they're exhausted and they're wanting my attention. And so like, that's causing, a little bit of overwhelming feeling. Well, let's be honest, a lot of overwhelming feelings in me, because I'm like, y'all just give me a minute, but then I feel guilty. And it's just this spiral of overwhelming emotions and not feeling like you're doing enough in either category. And so, yeah, basically the final straw for us was, if we want the business to continue to grow and in order for us to be able to scale it, really the necessary solution is to send the boys to school. And it's been great so far.
Yeah, my son thrives in preschool, and I have always said amazing things about other people, like raising your kids if you choose the right like location, and sometimes it might take a few locations to figure that out. It's okay. You're just doing the best for your kids. But I am a pro childcare person. So, and it sounds like you are too. Hopefully you guys are on the right podcast if you're listening to this, because we are, and it's a reality. One thing that was really on my heart as you were talking was, I previously, before I became a mom 3 years ago, I was very much, I feel like we're in alignment here of, we have to get so much checked off our to-do list to make ourselves feel worthy by the end of the day and to feel accomplished by the end of the day. And when I had my son, I realized like there was no way in heck I was ever going to get everything done on my to-do list every day that I used to. And it was this check-in with myself that, for me, though, I do need to get some things checked off in order for me to feel better and be just a better wife and a better mom, like in the evenings. And so what could I do during the day and structure my day wise so that, yeah, me realizing that I can't get 10 done, I can't get all of these things done. But Paige, if you get 2 things done and two of those is going to make you feel accomplished, and you'll remember that throughout the evening that you did get those things done and it did contribute to like moving the needle in X respect. It really internalizing that with myself and shifting my mindset that it's not going to be perfect. You're never going to get 10 of those things checked off, but the imperfection of at least getting a couple things is going to also fill my cup up enough as a business owner that I can pour into my family in a better way.
Totally. Well, and
Speaking
prioritizing, like there are things on my to-do list that have been on my to-do list for weeks because they're not a priority to-do list, item. So like what you just said, if I can get to, which now I can get more things done throughout the day, but if I can get, if I had to pick 5 things to get done, I'm starting with the things that are more pressing. So that's, I think, I listened to a podcast once she had a way better way of saying it than me, but basically almost prioritizing or choosing what priority your to-do list items are in. And obviously, instead of just like going through your to-do list and picking this item because it's on there, you start with the top priority one because that's the most important one. And if that's the only one you get done that day, great, because that was the one that was the most important one to get done. So when I and that sounds so simple, but if any of y'all are like me, when I see a to-do list, I'm like, okay, I got this and this and this. I can maybe do this one while I'm doing this one. And then I see this one. So I'm going to actually start doing this one. And before I know it, there's like 3 started projects that none of them are finished with, versus looking at my to-do list and being like, okay, this one's due tomorrow. This is priority. I need to do this one. If I can get this checked off today, then that's good. I got that done. And I think that really, really helps. Again, it sounds simple, but I do think that it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Another simple approach that I have here too is delegation wise. I have sometimes given my team the ability to be like, what is my priority? Hey, operations manager, I have 2 hours today. Utilize me in the best respect that you can. What are the things that you think I absolutely need to get done today? Or say, I have 4 hours dedicated to the things that you need me to do this week. Tell me what they are. Everything else needs to move down the line until next week or next month. It's been really interesting for me to give that to somebody else, for them to see the picture of the business in a different way than I would. And it's enlightening to me when they say, no, this is a priority, even though in my mind I thought something else was.
Right.
And if I get that done, then I'm not bottlenecking the team, and they can move forward with getting their work done as well in that respect. So just another tip there. In terms of prioritizing your health and wellness as a mom and an entrepreneur, I feel like that always comes last. And you're saying, I love when you said, I just try to get a workout in sometime during the day. I feel like when I'm ever following a fitness professional or talking about this as a mom, sometimes it just falls on deaf ears a little bit, where I'm like, okay, well, my days are different. Things can shift. I may not get everything done at 8:30 a.m. And some people are saying like, you have to structure things so that you can get it done. Are you of the mindset that like just getting it done and getting it in is better than nothing at all? And can you give some tips for moms and entrepreneurs of what that looks like? Like, what is 10-minute thing that they can do every day? And all my followers are like behind a computer. Like, what can we do? Just make it a little bit better each day.
Oh my gosh, my brain is rattling off so many thoughts right now. I think that I'm trying to think where to start. For starters, you have to drop this stigma that a workout requires being in a gym in a full hour, because that's absolutely not true. And when you shift your mindset from workout to movement, that can change a lot, because it's not even so much that you've got to get a workout in every day. It's just movement, especially if most of your listeners are sitting behind a screen. Movement for y'all, maybe getting a walking pad. Purchase a walking pad, get a standing desk so that even if you're going at, 0.5 miles per hour, you are still moving. That counts as movement. That is being active versus sitting and not being active, right? So that is huge. I think when women, are able to shift their mindset from workout to movement, then that really opens the door to a lot of things. And then a huge one, I have to tell all of my clients this, accepting that as a mom, workouts are going to be interrupted. They're going to be cut short. They're going to be chaotic, but knowing that it still counts is huge. I cannot tell you how many times I have had, and I film my workouts. My workouts are follow along for my app because I upload them to my app. The amount of times that I've started a workout and pressed play and had to press pause or fully stop recording and continued that workout and filming it a full 2 or 3 hours later because one or both of my kids needed me is countless. It happens over and over again. Does that mean that workout didn't count? No, not at all. If a workout is split up into 2, maybe even 3 parts, who freaking cares? You still did it. You're still choosing to show up for yourself. You're still choosing to move your body, do something for you that is absolutely going to make you a better mom. There's science behind, movement, creating endorphins and making you in a better mood than when you started. And so if it is split up, if it is interrupted, if you're having to use your baby as a weight, who cares? It still counts. So that is something that I try to preach over and over again, because before we had kids, those of us who like to work out were probably going to a gym and we were spending a leisurely hour or hour and a half uninterrupted. And that to us was a workout, right? Like that's what a workout was. You have that time, you go and don't do anything else, and then you're done and you checked it off your list. It's not reality for most of us right now. I work out for a living, and that's not reality for me right now. Most of my workouts are cut in half or they're shortened because a kid needs me. And so dropping that stigma of a workout has to be in the gym for an hour can really, really shift a lot. And then I would say, final tip for somebody who does sit a lot, walking goes a very long way. Standing up that's even better than sitting. So if you can stand up and eat your lunch, if you pack your lunch, you can stand up around the lunchroom and walk with it, even if you feel silly. Like little movements like that really, really do add up and make a difference in your day.
So many things to follow up on here. I'm like, yes, again, my head is spinning. It's interesting that we both feel the same way about movement and like being a business owner, and we run online businesses. So there's no way around the fact that we have our screen time going on all day long. And a lot of people do in my world. A few things that I've done over the past few years, I've noticed a huge shift after kid 2. I'm gonna be very frank and honest with you. I don't think I've ever said this publicly yet, but I had so much more time with just one kid because it was a 2-on-1 situation where my spouse could go work out and I would watch the kid. And I just didn't feel, I'm bringing back mom guilt here, even like asking family members or friends or even a babysitter. It just didn't even feel as difficult to say yes to because it was one kid. Yeah. And there was a lot more balance there of my spouse could go work out and then I could go work out. And it just felt like it was an easy back and forth. With 2 kids, I feel like everything has changed in the past 10 months.
It's a different ballgame.
It's a different ballgame. I always tell people, in my honest opinion, I think the transition from 0 to 1 is much more difficult because you're going from not being a parent to becoming a parent and becoming a mom. And so you've got the mom stuff under your belt and then you have another kid and that isn't as alarming. Like, I know how to do this. I've done it before. Right. But you're adding in a whole nother person. And now we're on one-on-one defense here where a lot of times I have felt like my spouse and I struggle with just getting the workout in. Yeah. And it has taken us a while to get here, Macy. But since about 6 months postpartum, 4 to 6 months postpartum, what we did is he likes group stuff. And if that's what he likes to do, I'm like, cool, you do that. And
For sure.
instead of feeling resentful that he is signing up for or city league hockey and city league basketball, and like those are his workouts of choice, and for him, he kind of double dips. He fills up his like friend cup, he fills
Yeah.
up his like group environment cup. He can get out of dad mode because he is staying home with our
Yeah.
youngest all day. So I let him do that kind of, a few times a week, and it's on the calendar, which helps me as a business owner. My expectations and, everything is set and is clearly organized. And then I don't feel as bad when I take my 30 minutes for myself,
Yeah.
or I go to my workout class, or I'm like, hey, I need to go on a hike with a friend, and I feel
Yeah.
less guilty about it because we both have that. And it's like, it's again, it's a balancing act with both parents, and it's just so much more difficult with two kids.
Yeah.
But that is something that we've been able to do together. Is some things are way in the evenings, and at least it's just happening and getting done. Sometimes for me, when you're talking about mornings and being chaotic, I fully agree. It's gotten way worse with two kids, and it's
Yeah.
just a zoo to try to get out of the house. And I am not a morning person, but I have now had to become a morning person. There are some weeks where I'm like, if I don't at least go at 6 a.m., I'm not going to get this in for the next 3 days. And I know I'm going to feel better if I just do it in the morning, even though I don't want to wake up.
Yes.
So I love everything you said. I totally agree with it. It's just getting it in. What are like 3 little tiny things that you think people could add into every day as a mom and a business owner, that are like your go-tos health and wellness wise to stay grounded and organized as a mom that's a business owner?
Definitely. We've talked a lot about this, but filling up your cup. I really do believe that if you are not doing that, that's gonna topple over. If your cup is empty, then the household. Because listen, if mama ain't happy, the whole house ain't happy. Like, it is just so true. Because it's so true. Because our kids fuel, especially at this age, and I know you said some of your listeners do have older kids. I would dare to say that this is probably the case until kids are about 8 years old. I don't have an 8-year-old, so I don't have any reason to believe that, but that, from what I've heard, that sounds about right. But up until then, I feel like kids truly do feed off of their mom. We are their emotional support. We are who they go to for all emotions, including the bad ones, including the mad and, angry and whatever ones. But we are who they are not only giving their emotions off to, but fueling their emotions off of. So for me, and this applies to motherhood and business owner, if I'm not doing something to start my day to make myself, honestly, to tap into Macy, before being a mom, before being a business owner, if I don't start my day with that, then that spills over onto who I am as a mom and who I am as a business owner. And so for me, in a dream world, once we maybe get used to this new school schedule, that would be waking up and working out early, because that's my happy place. That would require me waking up at probably 5 o'clock, which I can do, and I can make that work if that's what makes me the happiest. But whatever that looks like for you as a mom, whether that's, getting your full hair and makeup on and starting your day that way, like whatever it looks like for you to start your day so that you feel like you've tapped into you. And like you, not mom you, not business person you, but you. I really do think affects the rest of your day as a mom and as a business owner. So all that to say, I think that as a mom, waking up before everybody else in the house, or maybe not your spouse, but at least your kids, really shifts the rest of your day. So I, no matter what, wake up before my kids and give myself at least 30, sometimes even an hour, 30 minutes, sometimes even an hour before I wake the kids up, because that sets the tone for how I enter their room in the morning, for how I view my to-do list for business. So that's a huge thing. That's kind of like a big general answer. Another answer, and this is just to combine health and wellness and business, I go on work walks, which is anything that I can do work-wise on my phone. I will save for a walk. And that walk allows me to get some fresh air, get some movement in, change the scenery. Because if I've been inside all day, or even if that's just going out to the treadmill out in the gym, it's changing the scenery from where I've been working to a different spot. And I'm also being productive because I'm working. So I'm killing like 3 birds with 1 stone, right? So I call those work walks. I do those every single day. My neighborhood probably thinks that I am the crazy phone lady that is going to get hit by a car, because on these work walks, I'm literally like face down, not watching where I'm going. But I get back from that walk and I've gotten some steps in, and some fresh air, and some vitamin D, and a change of scenery. And I've also done a lot of work, because sometimes I do this for 30 minutes for an hour. So that's a big one that, if that's applicable to you, I know that's not applicable to everybody, but if that's applicable to you, that's a really big one. That was only 2 points. I think you said 3, but I feel like the first point was kind of a big one. So
No, both were great. And there was a lot of like underlying things there. So you had like some sub points to the main points. I think everyone actually should be walking and doing work walks. I'm a huge proponent of that. And when you're like, it might not be applicable to you. It's applicable to everyone. I'm not going to lie. Anyone can walk, and everyone uses their phone. I'll say it for you. I'm the legal page, and I'm saying this, and I'm not even a fitness professional. Everyone should be walking and talking versus just sitting and talking. There's so much that there's so many apps on our phone. There's so many things you do every single day on your phone that you can do while you're walking. Yes. One of the big steps we took in my business, actually, Macy, I think it was a year and a half ago, as myself and my marketing director were at a hotel. We were doing like a conference or event or something like that. And we were just talking late at night, and this came up. Like, she's a mom, I'm a mom. We both have young kids. We just had one at the time. And like, I just said, I can't get it in. I don't know what the deal is. And she was like, I can't either. And I said, when can we do this during the workday? And we ended up going and buying AirPods for ourselves together that evening. And we committed to ourselves of doing work walks where our Zoom check-ins were no longer on Zoom. And we were just voxering back and forth. And because and sometimes, you guys, you just need to make the purchase. I also truly believe that sometimes the expensive things tricks your mind into being like, no, I need to get the most out of this expense that I just purchased. I am one of those people. I was born in that era. I am a millennial. Like, I come from blue collar parents, and I'm like, if I put money towards this, I got to get my money's worth out of it.
Your money's worth, yeah.
And so for me, I was like, well, let's do that, Casey. Let's buy ourselves AirPods. And then this is a big expense for the business. It felt like a big expense.
Sure, yeah.
Really not that big of a deal in all honesty, when you're looking at the big picture of expenses. But for us, it triggered like, okay, we can go on work walks and we can do things together. And what is a commitment we can make here as moms running a business where we're doing work walks. So I just wanted to tell you, like, I implement that myself. And if there's any way that you're listening and maybe you don't have kind of the team structure that I do or that Macy does, maybe you just have that one contractor that's a virtual assistant that's helping you with a few things. Switch from Slack, switch from Zoom calls over to something like Voxer, where it's a little bit easier for you to do on a walk. Or maybe, mind-blowing here, there are such things as phone calls that still occur in today's day and age. Sometimes you can just call each other on the phone and have a conversation while you're walking, and it's so much easier to get things done. And so Zoom isn't the be-all, end-all. I do love Zoom calls. Don't get me wrong. There's a time and place for that, and there's a time and place for Slack so that everyone can see. But if it's a conversation just with one of your workers, you can certainly do that on your work walks.
Absolutely. Because listen, a lot of times people don't want to be on Zoom anyways, you know? No. You feel like you got to get dressed up for it, and people are rocking the pajamas on the bottom but the dress shirt on top. So nobody's going to be mad about it being moved from a Zoom call to a phone call.
No one will be. And they can always multitask, and we're all moms and we're all multitasking all day long. So how can we help other moms out to multitask if you are also working with moms? We have a full team of moms here at TLP, and everybody knows that. So.
That's awesome.
All right. I just want to quickly just add a couple of things in here for people that may be interested in working with their spouse, or their spouse is kind of contemplating moving over from W-2 world. They're kind of seeing what their spouse is doing and the business that they're growing, and they're really interested in it. You said your spouse came on board. I would love to know kind of like what that looked like for you guys, and maybe some trials and tribulations that you learned from, and tips for people if spouses are thinking about starting to come into the business together. And I'm guessing it was like your business to begin with.
Yeah.
And that's always this weird dichotomy of like, it's a control, it is my business, but this is my spouse. We are, supplying the family income together now. So there's that, but I can't give and glean any insight in this respect because my spouse and I are very separated in that respect. We have never tried. We know it was never going to work out. It's not healthy for our relationship.
Yeah.
And the business owner side of things is not something that comes naturally to my spouse, or running a business. And so that's just something I do on my own. And then I have a team that helps me. But I would love to hear from you, like what that was like, because I'm very interested.
It's always so funny because most of the time when I tell people that, their eyes get really big and they're like, I could never. That's so funny that we've like made it work, because that's a lot of people's reaction. But I say that there are also a ton of people who have done the exact same thing.
Yeah, there are now.
Their business has doubled, tripled because of it. So, Fittest Core got to a point because he approached me with this idea in February of 2023. So yeah, it will almost be 2 years. This coming
February. Yep.
It got to a point where kind of the potential of my business was like bubbling over and about to pop, but as soon as it popped, there was no way that I could take control of it, because I was only one person and a lot was happening. And then, aside from that, even the potential and what it could be if we had more of a team and I had more help was just, exponential. And so, Chase was at a job that he absolutely hated, quite frankly. It was very much a like desk job, 9 to 5, log in, log out, which is not what he was used to. It was, side story, but this was a kind of temporary job, whatever. So he'd been with this job for, probably 5 months, but was very unhappy. And he knew how my business was doing, as I just explained. And he sat me down one day and said, I have an idea and I want you to hear me out before responding. And I could tell he was like he was kind of nervous. He was like, I want to talk to you about something. I was like, okay.
What are you going to say?
He was like, I was like, what are you about to say? He said, I see what was happening with your business. I feel like there's a lot that could be happening. You're only one person, his whole spiel. And he said, how would you feel about me quitting my job and joining your business? And I just immediately started sobbing. And he was like, oh. And I was like, no, I would love it. This is like a dream come true. And I was so excited about it because for so long, it had been so hard for me to let go of any of the reins with my business. And anytime anybody had been brought up about being brought on, I was like, no, like they don't know it like I do. They don't know it like I do. And that was always my excuse. Like, I don't want anybody to help because this is my baby and I don't trust anybody with it. I trusted Chase though. He has been with me from every step of the way. He's watched me do this. Yeah. I've bounced ideas off of him. He's really worn the business hat for years before he was even, quote unquote, officially a part of the business, because he's got such a good business mindset. And so any new idea I had, whether it was for marketing or a new business plan, even pricing, I ran past Chase. And so he had been a part of the business, indirectly since the beginning of it. And so I immediately was like, yes, you're the only person that I would trust with this. The heart and soul of Fittest Core. So I feel okay with it. And obviously he was like, okay, like hold the phone. Like, let's like really think about it for a second. And we just went through logistics of it. And his viewpoint has always been, you got to take risk to to make things happen. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he was like, this is a big risk. We're going to lose one income. But he said, if this goes how I think that it can, and if I can implement into your business what I would like to, then I really think that it could, you know, double, triple, quadruple. And it has since he joined. He was able to, all the things that he was able to bring on board have allowed us to, you know, still 2 years in, been able to do it. But what works for us is obviously a lot of communication, a whole lot of communication, which, gosh, applies to couples, you know, no matter what. But, you know, it's when you work with your spouse and your baby daddy, that's a lot of hats. You've got mom and dad hat, you've got husband and wife hat, and then add on business or co-partner, you know, whatever hat.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hats. And typically, parenting hat, mom and dad hat, and then business partner hats are first, and then spouse hat kind of falls to the wayside. So definitely, like, my advice for business partners who are also life partners is to not neglect that spouse hat, because it gets really easy to do. And, you know, you can love what you do and still go on dates and talk about the business, and that's okay. But being diligent about taking off mom and dad hat and taking off business hat and being husband and wife, which was the OG, you know, you can't forget that hat. That is so,
it's the OG hat.
It is. It's the OG hat.
Before anything else.
Exactly. And so really, really being diligent about that. I know we're good about, at night we turn work off and, like, watch our show and, like, you know, I mean, we, like, don't talk during that. Does any parent at the end of the day not sit on the couch and just, like, look at the screen or look at each other? But still, we're doing that together, and we're not talking about work and not talking about the kids. And then we do a date night at least twice a month, sometimes 3 times a month, just to tap out of everything else and check in with each other. And then I guess kind of the final thing is, what works for us is that I think with my heart and he thinks with his head. And so we're able to combine those two ways of thinking and create what we have. And a lot of times I don't like his ideas, he doesn't like mine, but we have to work it out and remember how each of us thinks. And I do think that combination works well for us. Not everybody does think that way. So this is not me saying that if you want to work with your spouse, do it, because I don't think it is for everybody. But if you are thinking about it, just remembering that, you know, it is 2 different people trying to make it work together. And just as much as ever in a relationship, you have to communicate, and being able to take off, you know, specific hats when they need to be taken off is very important. So yeah, I don't know. It works for us. Now I can't imagine him not being a part of the business. If he were ever to approach me and be like, I have an idea, I think I'm done, I would, like, lose my mind. But yeah, I think that's how it's worked for us. It's been good. And I really can't imagine him not being a part. So.
No, such valuable insight that you're giving to people too that are either interested in it or maybe in the thick of it, and trying to figure out, like, how we wear all of those hats and the business owner hat when that gets worn as well. It's not something that I have done personally, and I'm always very hesitant to do, but not to say that my spouse isn't a part of, like, a sounding board for me.
Yeah,
I'm just like, where
sure.
where does that lie? You know, like, I've just learned he's a very, very, very good listener, and that's his best skill set. And for me, it's allowed me to stop venting to other people in the business and to just vent to him. And I'm not ever looking for a bunch of advice or, like, pushback or, like, ideas. It's just, he knows that it's like a vent sesh, a Paige vent sesh, and he'll just let me kind of get everything out that's in my brain, download onto him is what I call it. It's like go to therapy for sure, but also like a therapy session with my spouse in that respect. And that's how he can be supportive of my business. And then other people like you, it's just so beautiful that they can also integrate with the business as well, if that's where you're at in your relationship. But the OG parent hat, or the OG relationship hat, is so important. And I think that's a really good tie up to this episode, because not only are you filling your personal cup up, and that's really important. At the beginning of the day, you said, I love that. Having dedicated time and checking things off your business to-do list makes you become just a better mom. And I relate with that so much, and feeling like you can then turn things off and just pour into your kids a lot better, and pour into your spouse a lot better. But also, you just ended here with, don't forget that your relationship was just your relationship to begin with, and that's what started all of it. And there's various ways to go about it, especially when we're parents to young kids. It's not a one size fits all solution there, but it's just making sure that you're still giving dedicated time to one another, where kids aren't around, business isn't around. And you may talk business, but you're still just doing things, just the two of you. And no matter how you go about that, also making sure that that's a part of your weekly thing as well. So
totally.
I love everything we talked about. I think you and I could go on and on for hours.
I'm sure we could.
But let's wrap this up here. Give people a little bit of insight into what your business provides with Fittest Core, and how it could help moms, and particularly moms who are entrepreneurs. And just thank you for joining us today, Macy. This was such a fruitful conversation that I really enjoyed having.
It was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, and then give people like how to connect and a couple things about Fittest Core. We'll add that in there.
Okay, cool. So you can find me on Instagram at Fittest Core, and then my website, fittestcore.com. And there are lots of ways that you can work out with me. I always recommend just becoming a member of More with Fittest Core. That's where you get the most bang for your buck. That's my membership. So you have all of my workouts. There's over 700 of them, and they're added to weekly. You have access to challenges, all my workout programs. I have over 10. And then the community that I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, that community is in and of itself worth the membership, because it is all of my members who are active and checking in and rooting each other on and sharing progress and asking questions. And they're not just fitness questions. I mean, we have moms asking potty training tips and just sharing struggles and all of that. So that's the best part of what I do is the membership. But I also just sell one-off programs. So if you're pregnant, I have programs for you, and postpartum. And then I also work one-on-one with women. I have myself and then 2 other incredible trainers who work one-on-one with women who want just a more curated way of working out. We have weekly check-in calls. We call it like having a personal trainer in your pocket. We're there to help guide you and help you implement this into your life, however seems fitting. But yeah, that's what we do at Fittest Core. Just helping women feel empowered and finding a way to feel their best self in any stage of motherhood, because it is possible.
I love everything. You guys, I'll link this in the episode description. And one thing I can point out is it truly, the community aspect of also just feeling like moms and you're just trying to get it in and get it done. There's just this real life approach that Macy takes here in terms of, let me film this as it is, as I'm doing it right now. And it doesn't feel as like scripted and like, just I'm watching someone that is all done up and like getting their workout done, and it doesn't align with where I'm at as I'm trying to do this exercise. So I really like that approach that you've taken as well, with a lot of your workouts, and it's been fun to do myself. So I can definitely tell people that it's worth it and to check it out. So thanks, Macy, again, and you guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Okay, that wraps up my conversation with Macy. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and kind of behind the scenes look at what it's like managing kind of thriving businesses, working online all the time while still navigating motherhood and getting kids out the door every day, and then also being a present mom as much as you possibly can while also working on your health and also fostering your partnership. Macy's tips and insights are honestly just a reminder that even in the busiest seasons of life, you can find balance, strength, connection, and all of the things that you really, really want to have a very healthy relationship with yourself and your business. So a huge thank you to Macy Pruett for sharing her story and her wisdom. If you would like to connect with her more and learn about her app, Fittest Core, you can follow her on Instagram at Fittest Core or visit her website at fittestcore.com. And don't forget, you can check out her 7-day free trial to explore everything that the app has to offer for women at every stage of motherhood. I went and checked out some of these workouts and they are just amazing, super authentic, real, meet you where you're at as a mom, and you can get your health done quickly and efficiently and feel better every single day. So I highly recommend it, and it's a free trial for 7 days. So why not? As always, if you loved this episode, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or just share this episode with someone who you think might need a little extra encouragement in motherhood or business or both. Until next time, my friends, keep running your business and life in a way that feels legally legit, but also true to you. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's show. Be sure to visit thelegalpaige.com for contract templates, blogs, YouTube videos, and additional legal resources. If you haven't already, head over to iTunes and leave me a review and rating. It truly means so much to me to hear your feedback and inspires me to continue creating podcast content. Also, I want to personally invite you to my free Facebook group at tlpfacebook.com, where you will get access to me, my legal team, and thousands of other entrepreneurs in there for unlimited business and legal Q&A. Until next time, my friend.